Welcome to a new segment I like to call Cheap Damage Expansion Pack. Kinda like a re-review. Basically a chance to talk about changes, anything I may have missed, corrections, or just new discoveries in games I may have already talked about. And this one seems very appropriate, because even though I just reviewed it, and it's still only months old, there's still a lot to talk about Pokemon Go. A shoddy, horribly managed game that for some reason I just can't stop playing. First off, we're going to talk about the big change. The buddy system. You get to choose one Pokemon to walk with you, and as you walk, you earn candy for that Pokemon. The awards and distances vary between Pokemon, but still, this is huge. In my last video, I complained how there was no way to get candy except for capturing new creatures, and that makes it nearly impossible to build up extremely rare, but sometimes weak Pokemon. It may be tedious, but now, at least if you want to, you can focus on making one Pokemon stronger. Congratulations, Niantic! You did the very least you could do. I'd also like to mention the radar, as this has already dated my video. You see, when a glitch caused the 3-step tracking to bug out, Niantic Labs had this solution.
Well, it's been replaced by a new, horrible one!
Other players tell me it's better than nothing, and that you can still tell when a Pokemon is at least 200 meters away from you. I think it's just some grass. PokeVision and the rise of other third-party sites that would cross-reference Niantic's database and show you where Pokemon were spawning were more than just a welcome alternative to the faulty in-game tracking, in that it was basically cheating. Not gonna front, that's how I caught my first Rhydon. It was actually kind of fun, poking and prodding different areas of the map, and it's how I found out Pokemon only really spawn in about 5 places in my neighborhood. That lasted a hot minute before getting banned. But apparently, Niantic is working with these guys to develop a new tracking system. Well, that's just fine, but why don't you just fix the old one, instead of, adding useless characters? Yeah, they took my advice and added new in-game characters that you can talk to, in one of the most useless ways possible. Since the last video, they introduced the gym leaders, and the internet lost its mind. So, what do the gym leaders do? Nothing! You don't fight them or anything. All they do is appraise your Pokemon, which is basically telling you what you already know from the charts and seeing them in battle. The only thing that's really emerged out of this is, admittedly, some really good fan art and frankly just way too many penis jokes.
It's funny because Wang means penis.
Now, people were quick to point out something I knew, but didn't grasp what it meant for the game at the time. All the gyms and Pokestops are user-submitted, borrowed from Niantic's earlier game, Ingress, which is also about capturing real-life landmarks for teams. This explains the unbalanced nature of the Pokestops, why some places are crowded while others are barren. This is an image of what downtown Scottsdale looks like. Big tourist site, lots of restaurants, shops, art galleries, hair salons. Point is, there's tons of fountains and statues and stuff that just get turned into Pokestops. So there's no actual game design here, it's all just left up to the whims of hipsters and whatever catches their eye. So unless you live near a hip independent coffee shop or quirky wall mural, you might be pretty isolated. Just put a stop every couple intersections. Is that too much to ask? Well, then people might drive while they're playing the game. People are already doing that! One thing I glossed over in my first video was Pokemon eggs, which I finally figured out are a big part of the game, if you want to get far. You see, every egg you hatch gives you a huge bonus of experience, stardust, and candy. And much like hatchlings in nature, my Scyther came with enough sustenance to get it over 1,000, the lowest benchmark for gym competing Pokemon. Also, different eggs have different distances. The longer you have to walk, or drive really slow around your grandma's neighborhood, the rarer the Pokemon. That's how I got my Snorlax. Well, that and the $10 I spent on the incubators. I know, I spent money. But I'm glad I did, because it helped me uncover something. Remember my last video how I was glad to report that there was no pay-to-win function? Well, it turns out that there is one. But just like everything in the game, it was just hidden. You see, there is an amount of coins that is just enough to buy the extra 8 incubators you need to keep on hatching eggs, which are usually stronger than the Pokemon you catch in the wild. More eggs, more Pokemon, more bonuses. Although I had already used up all my incubators in 2 days. Just 2 days! Because as soon as I hatched one, I'd get another one from a Pokestop. Now I'm back to a Macargo's pace when it comes to hatching eggs. Oh, but now the game makes sure to remind me that I can totally buy more incubators if I want them. And why not a few lucky eggs while I'm at it? Yeah, I forgot to talk about those too. They double the experience you get for half an hour, which is the secret to getting to a super high level so early. This is what you do. You make sure all your eggs are ready to hatch around the same time. Then you crack open that lucky egg. Then you walk around and evolve all the Pokemon you can. If you have Pokemon that are ready to evolve, well, that's just great. But what you can do is take all those Pidgeys you got and evolve them. At 12 candies, they're the most plentiful and easiest to evolve. I had like 200 Pidgey candies and evolved 30 Pidgeys for 1,000 points of experience each. Then I hatched all my eggs, that's another 1,000 experience there. Then if you get a Pokemon added to your Pokedex, that's another 1,000. This is how I went from a level 12 weakling to a level 19 Balla in just 2 days. And everyone knows that's the learning curve to a good game, right? Frustratingly tedious if you have no money, and then just jumping through hoops after you pay someone. What a good game. I will say that gym battles are easier. It was really discouraging when I was stuck in the 500s, but if you can get a team even in the 800s and play against type, you can take a few gyms here or there. Me and a bunch of other Instinct players got this one on lockdown for about a week. I complained in my earlier videos that gyms had become stagnant, and while that still hasn't quite cleared up, it has gotten better. I don't know if people just needed more time to build up their other Pokemon, or have just learned that variety is the key to keeping a gym. If everyone uses their Arcanines, then anyone with a good team of water or ground types can just mow them down. Which is an analogy better suited for grass types, but good luck finding those in Arizona. Seriously, I lost my shit when I saw an Oddish. Although some gyms are still frustrating, I have no idea what number system they use to determine how far a gym's prestige rises or falls. I've seen some gyms where players just put up a really weak Pokemon, and at first I was confused, but then a little excited. I wondered if this was some kind of secret technique. Like this was the gym punching bag, and if other members just took turns defeating this one Pokemon, it would boost the level of the gym and allow more players to join. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. The prestige barely goes up. They were most likely just trying to get the daily reward. Which, by the way, is not worth it. You see, the theory is that being a gym member gives you rewards, and the more gyms you belong to, etc., etc. But the game doesn't reward you for beating a gym, it rewards you for holding on to a gym for 20 hours. I took over 3 gyms one time, but I had already claimed my prizes for the day, which means I had to wait until 11 at night. And by the time that rolled around, I lost 2 gyms. So the best strategy is to wait for the clock to reset and run around like mad trying to take over as many gyms as you can. In my case, it was 3. Actually, I took down 1 gym and leached off some open spots. And guess what my reward was? 30 coins and 1,500 Stardust. For every gym you have, you get 10 coins and 500 Stardust. That's it. No bonuses for having multiple gyms or holding on to one for an entire week. It's just bullshit. You get 1,000 Stardust for hatching an egg. Just give me a reward when I beat a gym. Stardust for every Pokemon I defeat and a coin for every gym I take over. Would that really hurt? It takes 150 coins to buy 1 incubator. The only item that really matters. Yeah, lures are for suckers. Yeah, I'm gonna catch 2,000 Pidgey today. And even 15 gyms is asking for a lot. Aside from the fact that the network connections are, still top notch. Do you know how many times I've gotten killed by special attacks from Pokemon I knocked out 15 seconds ago? Sometimes I can hardly put a dent in the standings, but it turns out that's my fault. Remember my last video when I said different Pokemon have different attacks? Well, that includes your evolved forms too. Oh yeah, I have 2 Arboks. one that only uses poison attacks and one that only uses dark attacks. So I decided to keep them both. But this backfires all the time. Remember all those eggs I hatched? Well, a bunch of them had Goldeens in them. Where'd they come from? I don't know. I've never seen a Goldeen around here. So I evolved one of them into a Sea King. And for some reason, the lake near my park has tons of Staryus, which miraculously turned into Jinxes. Figure that one out. But the point is that I evolved one of them into a Starmie. Pretty good, right? Well, until I actually used them in battle. Turns out that my two strongest backup water Pokemon don't actually have any water attacks. My Starmie is basically a psychic type. Lucky for me, I still had a bunch of Staryu candy and I just evolved a better Starmie with Water Gun. But this happened again when I evolved my Slowpoke and Poliwag. At this point, I realized that TMs would be really handy in this game. For those who don't know, TMs are attacks from the original game that you can teach your Pokemon if they're the right type. You find them lying around, or you can even buy some from stores. Now, how cool would it be if you go to a Pokestop and got some rare drop of Mega Punch or Ice Beam? That way, if you're not happy with your Pokemon's moveset, something you've always been in control of, you can at least teach them other moves. But as it stands, I wasted a ton of candy on these guys. The fact that the attacks are random is the final insult. Or at least it would be if I didn't have to share with you my secret. How I was able to do twice as much as I did last month. Like I said, this game uses data, which can be a problem. But you can use less data if you save maps of places you frequent on your phone. I was able to cut my data usage by roughly, a third. But that's still a big deal with people who might be on limited plans. And the game never tells you this. You gotta figure it out yourself. So does my first video stand? Of course. In fact, in many ways, this game is an even bigger piece of garbage than I realized. Lack of communication from a company, the removal of key features, rough launches in other countries that only seem to add extra stress on an already shaky network, no actual level design, a secret scumbag play-to-win strategy, and an even more broken battle system than I previously thought. The only thing that's worse than a broken game is rampant cheating on a broken game. Apparently, there are programs that allow players to fake their GPS location and play the game from the comfort of their own homes. And I have witnessed this. I saw a gym being taken over by someone who wasn't there. No one else was around me. And this guy just happened to be level 35. Well, there's nothing suspicious about seeing someone so close to the level cap. Except I didn't see them! Naturally, I was so disgusted by this that I had to try it for myself. I didn't go to any gyms. In fact, I created a second account and just took a look around. And for some reason, the game booted me in Tulsa University, Oklahoma. But with a fake GPS, you can go anywhere. You know where I went? Oceanside Beach. I stayed there during a family vacation years ago. I loved it. Augmented reality doesn't work, of course, but it was nice to visit it again in my mind's eye. And once the lag cleared up, it was pretty fun. Luckily, this latest buddy system patch seems to have killed that off. Not because I find it immoral, but because I can't spend the rest of my life exploring the world at 4 miles per hour for a game I still basically hate.
There, I've done it. I've finally maxed out all 1,000 Pokemon. I can rest.
Announcing the all-new Pokemon Go update, with 500 new Pokemon on Earth, the Moon, and now the Mars colonies. Boy, your Pidgey can sure battle with the best of them. Ah, another Pidgey, huh? Yeah, this one looks pretty good too. Huh. How many Pidgeys do you have?